Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the difference between assertiveness and aggressiveness. And I'm also going to be sharing tips on how you can become a more assertive person. So this is one of those topics that a lot of women struggle with. And a lot of the times it has to do with the way that you were brought up, the circumstances surrounding that, and because of that, you then take that behavior into your adult life. So, what is assertiveness? For me, assertiveness simply means essentially knowing and owning your truth. That's it. That's how I see it. What does that mean? That means that if you know your truth, then of course you know who you are. And because you know who you are and you know your truth and you're able to accept it and own it, you then find yourself becoming more assertive in situations where you need to assert that truth. And when you've been able to do both, then voila, you're a more assertive person. Of course, the way life turns out, it doesn't always work that way. Aggressiveness, on the other hand, comes from a place of fear that your truth will not be accepted. And so, to compensate for that, you then act out in physical ways to prove your point. That's it. That's how I understand it. And so when I think back in my life where I have acted in a manner that may come across as aggressive, what was actually playing out was a woman who was scared that she wouldn't be heard. So she thought that rather than being me and just asserting myself, well, I need to do more so that people can accept it. Now, things that too, because usually when you're in that space, because it's not coming from the true you, it is coming from fear. So what usually happens is you continue to attract more negativity that just goes down the rabbit hole. And the thing and the reason that is causing the fear in the first place is not being addressed. Okay. So now back to my point on assertiveness, being knowing and owning your truth. How do you do this? Okay. So the first thing is for you to know your truth, you need to know who you are. You need to know what your values are. You need to know what you stand for. What are you available for? What are you not available for? You need to clearly define this, okay? Once you have this defined, I'm going to give you an example, but once you have this defined, it's a lot easier for you to then own it and accept it, okay? Another thing that I should mention that honestly, it's really one of the major reasons why a lot of women struggle with this is self-worthiness issues. So sometimes you may know who you are. Sometimes you may know what your values are. But if you don't feel worthy of it, then you can see how you will struggle to own it. I'm going to give you an example. So say, for example, that you are someone who goes to bed early. You go to bed like 8:30. Okay, you know that about yourself. You know that early to bed, early to rise. Now, a friend of yours comes at last minute and says, "Hey, why don't we go check out this place at 9 o'clock?" You know that if you go for that thing at 9 o'clock, it's going to affect your day the next day. Okay, so you know that very loud and clear. But you don't feel worthy enough to say, yes to yourself and no to them. You feel like you need to do what they want you to do in order for them to like you and approve you, and so you go ahead and do it. See what I mean? And of course, when you go ahead and do it, then the pattern just repeats itself. And so when you find yourself in a situation where you need to stand up for yourself, and I don't mean, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just even talking about stating your preferences. Somebody asks you, what do you want? You can say, oh, I like this, right? So when you come to situations where you need to assert yourself, because your partner has been to people please and do what other people want because you don't feel worthy of whatever friendship or value that they're offering you in your life, you're going to struggle. Okay? You are going to struggle. So the third reason that I would say a lot of women especially struggle with being assertive is fear. So I talked a little about it in the second point, but it's fear of not being liked, fear of not being popular, fear of not being the nice girl. And it's not your fault to an extent, because you were brought up to be a nice girl. You were brought up to be a good little girl who just does everything that everybody wants, right? That's typically how you were brought up, or most women were brought up. So you take that pattern with you. And so when it comes to a situation where you know your value, you know who you are, but you don't have the confidence and you don't feel worthy, you then feel like you need people to approve you and validate you. And because you're secretly looking for that external validation because you don't have it internally, then it becomes harder to assert yourself and own your value, own your truth. So what are some of the steps that you can take to become more assertive? The first step is know who you are, know what you like. I've talked about it, what you don't like, what your preferences, everything. Know that about you. The second thing is know that you are worthy of it. You are worthy. Whatever thing or desire that you have, you are worthy of it. You're innately worthy of it. You deserve it. Okay? It is your birthright. I love that word. It is your birthright to have it. So know it. The third one is work on your self-confidence. Work on the fact that you don't need external people to validate you. Because here's the thing. You were not designed to be reliant on external validation. That's why even when people tell you what you want to hear, you need them to constantly say it. Because deep down, you are not telling yourself that. So regardless of what happens externally, internally, you don't believe it. And because you don't believe it, you need that reassurance. So work on your self-confidence. Work on your self-esteem and your self-worthiness. The thing that you're seeking in external things, people, money, wealth, anything like that, the thing that you need from that, start giving it to yourself inside, because that's really all that matters. So work on your worthiness. I do have a video that talks about how you can improve your self-confidence, your self-esteem. Watch that video. Start repeating good things about yourself. Start believing in yourself. You are worthy of being present on earth. You are worthy of being who you are. You were created and designed for this. You don't need another person to validate that. It's great when people validate us. It's just it's nice. But even when they don't do that, you need to do that for yourself. You need your being needs it. Okay? So work on your self-worthiness, your self-confidence, and your self-esteem. Work on that. The third thing is just do it. So even when you've worked on your worthiness issues, because again, you haven't been doing this, you will feel fear the first time you have to assert yourself. You will feel fear. You will feel like you're about to be kicked out of a tribe. You're about to be thrown down a mountain. You will feel all of those emotions and you will feel like you need to stop because you're going to die. But I want you to do it and start small. So for example, it could be as simple as somebody asking you to do something that doesn't align with you. Just, say, oh, hey, that's interesting. That doesn't work for me. How about this? Yeah, that doesn't work for me. I love that statement a lot. So try things like that. You don't have to explain yourself repeatedly. That's another thing women do. You don't have to do that. You know your desires, you own it. And so when something comes that is not what you want, calmly and confidently say, thank you for that. I appreciate that, but that doesn't work for me. Okay? And if they ask you what works for you, then you tell them. All right? Start small. Any situation you find yourself pulling back, kick yourself forward and just do it. Start small. And once you start small, it would be a lot easier to do it in situations where like you're in a public place or you're in a meeting and you have to speak for yourself. It would be easier to do that in those situations. If you do it in those situations without practicing, you can explode. You can explode, and I don't recommend that. So start practicing small. And as usual, have empathy. Have empathy for yourself. It is not something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. Have empathy, be kind, and continue to do so. All right? I'm trying to think of another tip. There's one other tip that I know I'm missing out, but it's just not coming. It's just not coming. So anyway, when you're able to do this, your life will change. It will change. So yeah, I hope this was helpful to you. If you're looking for more content on this, subscribe. I will be talking about more ways that we can improve the way we assert ourselves as women. And have fun doing it as well. I'm going to talk about that. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next video.